Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, or Tom Numbers, as people like to call me. I'm here with the magnificent JANINE MorigEau. JANINE, how are you?
Well, I'm good in a work sense, but my heart hurts because I lost a beautiful friend and soul sister. But yeah, I'm good.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that on your Telegram. So yeah, thoughts go out to you and her family and relatives. And it's a tricky time right now, isn't it? Lots of things happening.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, it's good to have you on the show. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming on. So I wanted to kick off the show. I did a video. It's out on my YouTube on Site Club. I think I will probably put it out on Twitter because Twitter's being kind of cool right now. You can put stuff out and it kind of gets a lot of maybe truer reflection in terms of people interacting and seeing it. But I put out, and I've got a lot of reasons for this, but I put out that I think we're going to see President Trump and JFK head to head for 2024. Now, there's lots of moving parts, lots of things in between. You've got the vote from 2020, all that stuff. We won't say any more on that, but I feel because the numbers add up. So if you do Donald J. Trump equals 148, and if you do Robert F. Kennedy equals 162, which is Trumpology or Trump gematria. 148, Donald J. Trump is simple gematria, but you add them together comes to 310. 310 is actually the day of the year that the November 5th election will take place in 2024. It's a leap year. Usually it's 309. The shot heard around the world, 309, November 5th, but it's actually on 310. The 310 is a really significant number in the numbers. But I feel, and I gave a whole plethora of numbers and reasons for it, but I want to see what you think with the cards, and let's have a look. Are we going to see those two opposing forces? I think they're on the same team. Are we going to see them, battling it out for the good of humanity, and then we'll have a big crescendo at the end? That's what it feels like to me. So I want to see what you think.
Okay, let's have a look. I've never thought that, but you never know.
You never know. It's a
Crazy
tricky bit.
things are, oh my goodness. Some kind of yes on it and 3 of cups. So some kind of celebration and you'll see them definitely together and maybe even in the way you're describing, but these are more celebration with cups. So I'm not sure it'll literally be. And then this card at the top. So could be, you're going to hear that they're going toe to toe. But that's not really what they're doing, maybe. But they're yes to the creative announcement of that. Maybe it'll be a creative announcement because this guy's an announcement, but he doesn't always come to fruition because he's just a page. And that would make sense to maybe bringing him out in that way, but maybe he doesn't literally get involved in the election, because if you think about it, none of these elections can really happen. So if they actually ran an election on a government that's
Yes, I think so. And I think I've been looking at it and feeling into it. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but it feels like that. It feels like a celebration, like you said. And when I jumped up, I thought that was one of the ace cards. It looks similar, so that's why I went, hey.
cool. Yeah, it was an ace card.
It is an ace card. Okay, it is an ace
yeah,
card.
that's an ace. But it's a creative ace. So in a creative way, that's something like that could happen. It feels like they'll definitely be out in public together, maybe even running, like you said. But I don't think it'll literally be that they're literally running in a real election.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
some have said maybe they'll run together, but I don't know, it feels like right now, the two forces. You also brought up the Page card. Now, Page is 29, which is Diana. Is there any connection with all of this with Diana?
Ooh, that's interesting. Let's have a look. So many people have been talking about these guys all stepping out for years. We've been hearing this.
And gals,
5 and the star. She's definitely known to the Trump team and the white hats. And then there's a 5. So there, it seems like there's some issues with bringing her in on that, and it's not decided because this 5 is, they're still duking it out here. There's some logistic thing or something, and it could have something to do with, she could literally be spending time other dimensional or off world.
Okay.
See that star? Like she could be in another sort of place, let's say.
Okay.
Dimensionally. Like I don't think she really died in that car crash. I think that was falsified, and I think they knew that was coming, and I think they faked that. But I feel like that's still, all of these cards are work in progress kind of cards, and I think that'll get worked out, whether she's stepping out at least at the same time as JFK Jr. looked like a big yes. But Princess Diana looks like that's still, they're still working out how that's going to happen.
Okay. Interesting. So I'll mention it now, but you said about dimensionally. So President Trump has been saying, I've heard him say it at least twice now, because there was a video, I think is a recent one that went out yesterday, and he mentioned the phrase, the final battle. And I've been saying the last battle, because he says the last battle. The last battle is from the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe, that series. But then the final battle is what he's been saying, or at least he said yesterday. He might have said the last one before. He said the final battle. The final battle comes to 135, which comes to Ocean Gate Titan. And I did a Twitter post on it a few days ago, because I saw that, and you did a lot on that, about the whole thing of the Titanic with the Federal Reserve. It's almost like they're doing the reverse. You're going to see something sink by the Titanic, and that people were feeling that's a signification of the reversal of the Fed. But also with that, I think it could be closely linked with, in particular, stock exchange, because stock exchange is 135, which is Ocean Gate Titan. And then when Trump says the final battle, that's 135, which is also the same value. So I'm wondering, is there a connection? Is he signaling about that submarine, and is it connected to the stock exchange in particular?
Okay, now this is interesting. The past that brings those two topics together is, this is kind of fluky in a way. Well, it's not a fluke, but it'll look like one from the outside, because the Wheel of Fortune, so a reversal of fortune, or going with something that happens. So something happens and you go with it because it's destiny. So interesting. I feel like they might be spinning off what happened with this submersive vessel that they're calling a submarine, because it really wasn't any kind of a submarine. It was a homemade vessel that looked like a rinky-dink outfit, by the way. I feel like when I look at it every single time, no matter what I think, because intellectually I think that must be a white hat op, I got it was a black hat op.
Really?
Yeah, I get that some bad guys, the people we talk about as black hats, maybe were like a couple of things, diverting attention away from what's going on with Joe. And they were also maybe a sacrifice of some kind. And all of it karmically nods to the things you talk about. Maybe not intentionally on the dark hat side, or maybe because they do have to announce what they're up to. So I feel like the white hats could actually go with this situation and use it to announce all kinds of things. It's almost like a gift from the universe that these fools decided to do what they did there. This is my intent. What I'm getting about it. So it's kind of weird and convoluted, but so is the whole world right now. I feel like now the white hats take that, run with it, like the Wheel of Fortune. So they're utilizing something that's happening and then using it to spin their way. It's being spun on both sides, for different purposes.
Interesting. It's interesting you said reversal of fortune, because fortune is 99, which is judgment, which is ascension, which is patriot. In the superhero universe, it's Spider-Man as well, which maybe that'll come up again. But reversal of fortunes, 220. 220 is Operation Warp Speed, which is also quantum universe. And so when you're saying there's a gift from the universe, they let the baddies play it out, and then the white hats are using it for good because it's like you said, a gift from the universe, which would tie in with quantum universe, Trump's universe, military universe. That all comes to Operation Warp Speed, quantum universe. Okay, so this is another one. I mentioned the Chronicles of Narnia. You got the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's all about time travel in different dimensions and things like that. So the lion, Aslan, Lion's 50, Donald's 50, Aslan's 50. You got the witch, so I think there's a few witches that it could have been. There's a few namesakes on the table that could be the witch. But then the wardrobe, and I think the wardrobe is some form of analogy of time travel, because you see it. They go through the wardrobe and they time travel. Even in Tesla, in the Christopher Nolan film about Tesla, The Prestige, there's a kind of triangular kind of device stroke wardrobe that David Bowie uses when he plays Tesla. So going back to that, I mentioned there's this, there's one of the books, well, I haven't mentioned it, I will now, called The Magician's Nephew. So my question is, who's the magician? I think there's probably a few magicians and a few nephews, but I've been thinking again about JFK and Robert F. Kennedy, because I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the Trojan horse in a good way. I think he's the thing that we didn't see coming. He's always been there, but until his mission was fully activated, which I think he's doing now. Because in my understanding, he's talking with the same kind of passion and spiritual goodness that Trump speaks with when he was addressing us all the time in COVID. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. So they're appearing to be on different sides, but this is all for the narrative to wake people up. But my question is the numbers. John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr. comes to 313, which comes to lift the veil from your eyes. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. also comes to 313, which is lift the veil from your eyes. President Trump's portrait in Mar-a-Lago, which I saw in November of 21, is the visionary Donald J. Trump, which is also 313. So my question is JFK sometimes interchangeable with RFK Jr.? Are they sometimes one and the same person on the board? Maybe not all the time, but are they of the same cloth? Are they sometimes one and the same? Because the numbers seem to indicate that.
Okay, that's more solid. Like the Ace of Cups is a creative yes. So yes, in some creative way, you could say it that way. But this is a solid yes. So we don't even have to look further.
Cool. I thought so. Thanks, Janine.
Yeah.
And tying it into the Magician's Nephew. So if you do the Magician's Nephew, you spell it out without the apostrophe, because this is the important part. There's an apostrophe. So if the Magician's Nephew comes to 180. 180 comes to Robert F. Kennedy R. I actually think Robert F. Kennedy is also R on the Q post, which we'll look at in a second. But then if you add the apostrophe, so the Magician's Nephew, including the apostrophe, is 133, which is simulation, Terminator, White House. There's a few things. But if you do the Magician's Nephew plus the apostrophe, again, it comes to 313, which is why I thought Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. is the same as John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr., which you've just said is a strong, solid yes. So let's look. Can we look at then? Is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the Q post? Is he R, or at least one of the R's? Because people think that's JFK Jr., but I feel that R could be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also, if not maybe just him. But I think it's a stronger indication that it could be him as opposed to Jr. They could both be R. Yeah.
You're not a, yeah, you can't make this up. I just pulled another ace. That same ace. That's wild. And this was on the bottom of the deck. So maybe there's even another one they're talking about, because this is my trump card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I think that. Wow. I think we should just pack up and go home now, Janine. That's brilliant. That's amazing. So, so the magician's nephew, yeah. So can we look at this one further? So the magician, it first came to me that the magician is JFK and his nephew is RFK Jr., which we've confirmed. But, well, we know that's the case, literally, but we've confirmed through the numbers, etc. Magician is 57, which is also Tesla. I'm wondering, is there a connection between Nikola Tesla and JFK1? Is somehow maybe JFK1 Nikola Tesla's nephew, perhaps? Is there a relation there?
I wouldn't go related literally, but
Okay.
I'd say they knew of each other. I wonder if they even literally knew each other or other dimensionally traveled together or somehow connected or had conversations.
Okay.
Right, because I'm thinking all of these people that we're talking about right now are time travelers.
Yes.
Wild as that looks. So there's a connection intellectually with them, and they might have met and or had conversations, or maybe they still do even. I think we got people that travel, and I'm thinking they're hybrids too. I'm thinking like if you look at, well, I know the Trump family is, and
Yeah.
Trump was placed in the family he ended up growing up in. And there was all kinds of reasons why they put him in an elite family, all kinds of reasons. You know, they needed him to understand how these people work and all kinds of reasons. And I think they watched Trump grow up, like they being maybe like the original, like who's become the White Hats, or leaders that were already creating what became the White Hat group.
Yeah.
You know, so and or custodians sort of from other dimensions who are actually our future selves. Even if it sounds wild, I think those are what we call the alliance.
Yeah.
So they're like human energies that are more advanced, and they've come back to help us through this. I think they set things in motion with Trump being exactly placed where he was placed, and they watched him to make sure he couldn't really be turned into the kind of monsters that some of these people get turned into being in those families.
Yeah. Can we look at, I don't know if you've done a read on this before, but Trump being placed into his family, and a lot of people think that Trump was born earlier and that he was Patton's son.
Yeah.
Have you looked at that before? Can we look?
Yeah,
Can
we
look
did
at,
a deep dive and it was totally true.
Okay. Can we have another look at that, or does it, if we've
Yeah,
already said
let's have a look. See what more we get there. Surrender to an ace. Surrender to an ace. So in a creative way, surrender to an ace. So in a creative way, that's true. So what I guess we might mean by that is, I don't think it was a natural thing where Patton had a relationship with the woman they said was his lover later in life, not his wife, by the way. And I don't think it was like that kind of thing where he was birthed that way, because both of them were quite elder. Like the woman, I think she was in her late 40s. And I know you can have children in your, I had a child at 42. So, and I know lots of people that have later children now, but I think in a creative way, they did things with technology and created Trump, because they also, and using Patton's DNA. Let's just say that.
the pattern on Patton's DNA? Interesting.
Yeah. And I think they added elements of off-world energy. And I think they did the same with Trump's wife, Melania. She's also a hybrid. I think they're hybrids.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Did you pull up the ace card or the other one first out of that two?
First, it was the surrender being,
Okay.
so intellectually, this is going to be hard to grasp, but
Yeah.
so there's a lot more to it, but yes, but
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch to it. And then I added what I deep dived on. So I already deep dived on all the ways that could be a yes, but it's interesting. We got an ace too.
Yes.
Yes, but it's in a creative way. So not the way people normally think about, like they're trying to put it together in their heads. Well, Patton would have been elderly, and his lover that they talk about being in his life would have been, in her late 40s. And so how is that? And people get all technical. No, it's not literally like that, where they birthed a child and it got stolen away. No, they were created possibly off-world or other dimensionally.
Okay. Talking to Melania and Donald, are they Arcturian? Or at least part Arcturian?
This is the wildest show. Okay, yes.
It's been a while, Janine. Been saving up my best
Creative,
stuff.
yes. It's like I'm shuffling the cards, you guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So another creative yes, and then this card here, a soft yes card. So that's interesting. Okay, so say your question again.
So the question was, are Melania and Donald, are they Arcturian? So you got Pleiadians, Arcturians.
Maybe we
Andromeda.
don't have the word right, or maybe we're our vision of what that is could be slightly altered, but let's just say yes for the sake of the question. But there's more to it than that, or there may be a different way to say it. Saying it, maybe that group wants their name spoken a different way. I'm not sure, or we're a little off on the kind of otherworldly, or maybe they're closely related to those. With that, these cards aren't absolute solid yes, but you're in the ballpark, let's say.
Do they have like you talked about hybrids? So would they be Arcturian, maybe spliced with some other races as well? I mean, people have said, and it feels like perhaps Melania is also Pleiadian as well. Would that be?
We got Pleiadian for sure, but okay, yeah. Now you're getting to it. Look, so see that?
Yeah.
Several different kinds of other dimensional energies. Okay. Several.
Okay.
So that might have been one of them, but there's a lot more to it.
Okay, interesting. Because Arcturian in numbers is 105. And the Arcturian comes to 138, Donald Trump. So I was like, okay. Yeah. And then Melania Trump's 143. Yeah. That would be Arcturian gold or Arcturian balance or Arcturian change, so I was like, okay, maybe there's something there with those. And I was told a few weeks ago, actually, that I was Arcturian. I thought maybe I had some other things, maybe Pleiadian, but Arcturian seems to feel quite resonant. Can I have a look at that, actually? This is a bit self-indulgent, but am I Arcturian or mainly Arcturian?
And something else.
And something else.
And here we've got the devil, so that's interesting.
Oh no, I'm the devil.
No, something that maybe was in a fighting situation with the Arcturians at one time. Okay, so maybe they've come together, but maybe someone who was their natural enemy at some time. You might have both of those. So some enemy off-world entities who were fighting actually got together and created a bond, and that became part of who you are. Yeah, like some races that were actually in a situation where their families or their cultures were fighting, but they found they loved each other. So that's wild.
So they kissed and made up.
Soulmates, yeah. So you have some interesting combinations of that and another race that would have been their enemies at some point. So if you look into some of those histories, it might clue you in on what that could be.
Interesting. I'll have to look at that. I'll have to.
But in a way, that's really cool because now you got these two entities, you bring them together in who you are. And they do say that humans could be up to 12 kinds of off-world or mixtures, like they created us with all kinds of off-world combinations, apparently.
Wow. So we're a super race, really, humans.
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're starting to figure it out. And I think we've just been told otherwise for so long. Once we find our magic back, come back to our self, like I know that a big part of my mission, my whole lifetime, even before I understood it really, and I still don't really, is to empower people to love themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I step away from groups, because it's not for moral reasons and not for anything other than that is the exact opposite of self-love. That offends me to the deep core. Like, it doesn't matter who you choose to be lovers with if you're an adult consenting person, and they are. I'm not talking about trying to control people, but every single human here needs to learn to love the vessel they chose and honor it to the best of their ability. And that doesn't mean the opposite of self-love. So my whole life I knew that, and that's just common sense. So how did we get so far off common sense that some people, even good people loving in their heart, think that's okay? And then I want to say to them, would it be okay if your child did that? Because most of people that do that, and they're being encouraged to do that right now, because most of those people are ending up depressed and or on meds for life for sure. They absolutely have to be. And none of it ever works out. It's like literally creating Frankensteins. So what on earth, how on earth is that self-love? And we have to actually do our work here. We didn't come here to try to control this. We came here to love it, this physical, beautiful vessel we're in. We came here to completely express through it. And you got to find a way to do that. You got to find a way to love who you love, whoever that is that you're attracted to, if they're in agreement with it and they're an adult, let me add that. And in a way that's actually empowering for both of you and honors both your vessels. And that doesn't mean changing it. That's literally where now you're self-loathing.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, like honor it, treasure it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We mentioned this briefly, but not in this quite particular area. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of all the movies, the Q movies, Back to the Future in particular. And there's so many codes in there that I've done with you on shows before about Trump and the Kennedys and everything else. 88 miles per hour, you have to travel 88, 88 is Trump, 88 mph is time travel, all that stuff. 125 John Kennedy time travel. In episode 2, you see a future Marty McFly. Marty McFly is 136 Great Awakening. He goes into the future and he gets the sports almanac, the Gray's sports almanac. That comes to 222, which is Wyndham, New Yorker, which is the hotel where Tesla used to live. It's Winter White House, which is where Trump is in Mar-a-Lago. There's also 1,000 years of peace. And there's a few other things. It's my birthday, which is February the 15th, comes to 222. So there's lots of, anyway, there's lots and lots of stuff with it. But it's been kind of pointed out recently. I've seen some things. And people are trying to make out that Trump is bad. There's a lot of that going on right now. Yeah. And so the people that wrote, Robert Zemeckis, 169, The Great Awakening, Thomas Bushnell, 169, Trump Tower, 169. People that were involved in the making of Back to the Future say that Biff was based on the character of Trump. And so you see all these character arcs with Biff, he's tough, he's kind of straight on the nose, Anyway, episode 2, there's a part where you see old Biff go into the future and get this sports almanac, which is basically a playbook for all the sport betting results. So he gets it and he gives it to young Biff and he tells him to bet on the sports. And at that point, young Biff is in the car. They're in the convertible car inside the garage, and he's listening to a sports game. And the end result is 1917. 1917 is a reference to Kennedy when he was born in 1917. But then fast forward, and you see that Biff has become a megalomaniac, and he's got this huge tower, and he's got all these like naked women in the jacuzzi with him, and gold and everything else. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that in the jacuzzi, but all that stuff. And then he's basically kind of this epitome of everything else behind him. You know, the streets are all in chaos, but there's this one golden figure that's got all the money. And so people say, oh, that's Trump, that's Trump. And so he's this secret character that's going to, you know, mess everyone up and all the rest of it. So my question is, what is that point in the film trying to teach us? And yeah, let's look at that. What that character, that portrayal of Biff, what's that about?
You know, that's assuming that it really is nodding to Trump.
That's true.
Right,
that's
you're
true.
making a big jump of assumption there, right?
Yeah, and that's what people are saying. So I don't necessarily assume that that's, or it's just a narrative. It's like, well, they might show on different timelines X, Y, Z could have happened, but that's what they're trying to point out.
So we've got the 10 of Wands and the Page of Wands. So this guy's looking in new direction, or he's starting a new journey. He's also a soft yes. So there's something about the character of Biff that you could say Trump was. Maybe it even means if he'd chosen a different route, he could be like that, or what they're going to portray him like. That's another thing you could, right? Because this 10 is, so this is the overwhelmed card and an ending card. So something in the past, maybe he could have chosen that path and that's what you'd see, but he chose a new path.
Yeah.
Okay, or he was on a path like that and he ended it and went a new direction. I mean, Trump's not an angel. Like you see lots of, I mean, when you pick around all the news stories that make him literally really, really bad. Okay, but if you push away that, there's definitely true evidence that he's rubbed shoulders with some real deep state baddies and hasn't always been any kind of an angel. I mean, he's got lots of faults, like everybody, right? All of us have lots of faults. So I feel like he could have went in that direction, but he resurrected his energy and moved it, and might have even been inspired to go in a brand new direction. That could be another thing it's nodding to. And here's the outcome card. So we've got success. So I think he was given a lesson and he made a successful choice to be for the good of humanity. But he could have went that way, and maybe it's nodding to that. But that's assuming universe may not agree that that analogy is correct, right? Those are just people saying that. And don't forget that, like, they knew, like they've known for a long time he's their enemy, obviously. And so they're going to do everything, and even plant things, and even plant people to take them down. Like recently, there was a really ugly tweet by that woman that Jessie Gibraltar. I can never say her name.
Oh, Jessie. Yeah, I think I know who you mean. Yeah,
she's been around for a long time.
Caesar.
Geez, I can't say it. Anyway, CZ something. I can never say her last name, but and I think she started out on the scene really revealing a lot of truth, but has really went rogue here. And like if you believe her, she's throwing everybody under the bus she was at first nodding to. So it's like right now she's saying that the Sound of Freedom, everybody involved in it are pedophiles, and it's horrifying, like what she's saying. And I've long not listened to her because I feel like she was MK altered. I mean, if she's from an elite family and was long time in the family and knows all the inside stuff, and then we're to believe. She comes out, she gets absolutely indoctrinated now by Christianity, and Christianity's absolutely dark cult. So who knows, they could have fooled her and got a hold of her and really not let her go. And she just believes she got healed. She's not a healed person. When you hear her talk, you can feel her wounds still so clear. She hates tarot card readers and talks bad about like we're, demonic and bad. And so anybody with those kind of polarities that are so strong and like she's just grasping to, and I don't believe she's bad in herself. I think she did go through those harrowing experiences. I saw it in the cards she did. But that doesn't mean she's a healed person. So they could have got in there and flipped her. If she's like been through all those experiences, she's been MK altered. And like on her own admission, she was in the cult for years and supposedly as a Christian experience got her out. And then she was literally like indoctrined just as strong by Christianity. Okay, those polarities, and we know Christianity is completely demonic at its core. So now she's got another cult got a hold of her. And I think she doesn't even know it herself. She thinks she's doing good by humanity. I think she's absolutely being used. And now she's trying to take down from the inside, but a lot of people stopped listening to her. So I don't know if it's going to work, but hopefully not.
Yeah. And also, going back as well on that, with the Back to the Future stuff. So, and then we know, this, there's layers upon layers upon layers of meanings and truth, etc. So when you're talking about Trump's had to rub shoulders with all the bad types, it seems to me that it's infiltration beyond infiltration. So if he was born into an elite family or even placed into an elite family, because the one I just sent you the other day about the whole thing of Mercury and the time that he was born and all this, and then making that he's XYZ and he's the devil incarnate. And it's like, well, actually, if he was put into that family, then the date of birth isn't correct anyway. But
it's not correct.
It's not correct. It's not correct.
It doesn't make sense to me that he'd be that a Gemini anyway. He doesn't feel like a Gemini. Some things about him, but I think he was born months before, maybe.
Yeah, I think they say December 5th or 7th. I think that's what they say.
And that would make him a Sag, which would make a lot more sense to me and my understanding of astrological energy.
Yeah. So even then, it's like they knew the good people that created him. They're like, right, we're going to put you right here, and we're even going to put you in a different time bit. So we're going to make it look like you're one of what they portrayed. But it's like, no, we're not.
We fooled him for a long time, and he might have not even known himself he was being used that way. But when we deep dived, we got that he was pulled out at a certain age and told the whole plan. Yeah. And the other thing about Back to the Future is people see things visually, so they think, oh, Biff's the Trump character. But actually, the character that is Donald Trump in the numbers in Back to the Future is Emmett Brown, the scientist. Because Emmett Brown's 148, which is Donald J. Trump, which is time traveler, which is simple geometry. So he's actually the Donald Trump character. Maybe there's two or the shadow, but it's that's who the character is, in my opinion, because he's the one that is using time travel to do all this changing of reality, changing of the world, so Back to the Future. And that's another piece, going back to the Kennedy and Trump versus each other in 2023 and 2024. You've got, if you spell out the word Trump, it's 120. Trump is 88, but if you spell out the two words 88, it comes to 123. Kennedy is 78, which is Genesis podcast. But if you spell out the word 78, it's 159, which is the Chinese elders. Silver and gold is 123.88, but you add them together, and that comes to 282, which is 88 miles per hour. So this whole thing of Trump Kennedy is laden with stuff for Back to the Future. What do you think is going to happen in the next? What do you see happening in the next few months, Janine? Have you done any deep dives? Any thoughts on kind of between now and autumn? Any things to watch out for? Things to maybe aware of, prepare for? Let's ask the universe.
Yeah, let's have a look. And the
That's, yeah.
universe is 113. Trumpet. Ask the trumpet.
Things working themselves out in the banking, I think, in a very creative way. So this card's a Pentacles card, and it's about money. So
Yeah.
things are going to work themselves out. So the first thing I'd say when you see these two together is things aren't going to go as dreary. Like there will be, I believe, they're a creative way to crash the banking system. They've got a way they're going to crash things without devastating everybody. Okay. And a lot of people will disagree with me. They're thinking a complete annihilation, but then other people, other good truthers will say, well, it can't go all the way down because that would cause total chaos. So I feel like looking at these two cards are going to creatively take it down, but it's absolutely a controlled demolition. And I think it's even in the background, there's already been agreements made. Bankers already know what they're up against. They already know which ones have failed in the background and which ones haven't. It's all controlled. I think they're controlling how the information comes out, they being the good guys. Okay, I'll just say it like that since this is going on YouTube. And this was in the background. So this is happening, I think, all in the next coming days and weeks. This was in the background, which is the Seven of Swords, which is strategy. This was all strategized. It's been played out, and it's like play by play, not necessarily like on a schedule, because things don't really work like that in a war situation. I think it's play by play. So this play has to go down before that one can go down, before that one can go down. But it is more controlled, and that's good for humanity. It doesn't mean we won't feel pain, and it doesn't mean we don't have work to do. It doesn't mean sit on your laurels and eat popcorn. I know a lot of people get angry and it sounds like you're saying it's all a movie. Well, how about this? It's all theater for sure. And anything to do with politics is theater, and a lot to do with anything you're hearing in the mainstream news is theater. I really believe, and things playing themselves out within a war situation. And we're literally the ones left in the dark about what's really going on. So that's been really obvious. I think we will see a stepping out of a military force that's for the good of humanity, even though, again, that's pretty far-fetched for a lot of people. They're thinking military equals military law equals that. How is that good for humanity? Well, I think in this case, we've been I believe the 17th letter of the alphabet, I'll say it like that, is truly there to help humanity. I mean, that's my interpretation and what the cards have been telling me for years. So I think we've been prepped to know this time that there is people that will appear to be like a military, but they're like, in fact, working for the good of humanity. So I feel like with that ace, you're going to see them really step out and take over and or step in front of governments, and because the long needed. And looking at new systems, carefully bringing in, so it'll take time. So there's going to be some pain for people because they won't be able to maybe utilize their bank accounts, but lots to do with financial things here in the next little bit, because this card's like careful and a carefully well-planned guy, this guy, but it's all around the money system again. And you're safer than it will appear. You won't appear safe. You won't appear safe. It'll look like. So a lot of people will think they lost everything, but I think there's a plan in place for down the road. So I'm not saying, again, there's going to be pain involved. If you're the fearful type, you better believe it. And if you don't trust in the big picture, and if you don't see in a broad spiritual way, if you're not connected soulfully to trusting that spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, the goddess, your gods, whatever, have your back. Like there's energies here helping, but at the same time, a lot of people need to be shaken up a little to get on track. They're way behind, and that needs to get addressed. So I feel like the pain part's going to be for them. So if you can be a little detached and more holding your loved ones through that, that'll be your best bet. And I personally am not fearful, even though I bet I'll be fearful some of the time, but I always look big picture anyway. So I'm looking at it as a huge revelation and experience that's going to evolve all of humanity. So bring it on. I think we're going to see that all coming up here.
Bring it on, definitely. You brought up a few thoughts. So the crash, the financial change, logically, it feels like you have to see Biden crash the economy, and then something's done to let the good guys bring about the change. I don't know how they would do this, but is there a possibility that they might just, without a crash, bring in the new stuff under Biden? That doesn't make any sense to me, but there's been so many twists and turns with this. Is that a possibility? Because people are saying things like, oh, we're going to see stuff this, I mean, they've been saying it for a while, but we're going to see something in the next few weeks or the next month. And it doesn't look like Biden's going to necessarily go anytime soon. I mean, could do, but it doesn't, until something happens, it doesn't look like that. So are the white hats going to do it sequentially, i.e. let Biden take the hit? Because Trump did say that, Biden will crash the stock market. It will all go tits up with him, basically.
So that's likely the person they're like the scenario they're talking about when they say Biden, because really happened to him's not what they're saying. Okay. And then there's this judgment card. I feel like it'll come to right before there's an exposure, I think, of who he really is. And that's already happening. If you think about it, real truth about him and his family is all over. So you wouldn't have to look far. I think he's already been exposed, and it's not going to be, I think it'll all happen like boom, boom, boom. I feel like he goes down, but it could be on the same day, weekend, in the same hour even, and or in the same very quickly, shortly after that, all this other stuff. So that with cards like that, that's really dramatic. Okay, good. So they're not going to pull out a completely counterintuitive move and not take Biden down and let them economy and let everything change without a crash. Okay, that makes sense. I don't think so. Yeah, that makes sense to pin it on him, bring it down, and make it happen quick. Another thing as well is we talked about R, and you confirmed that you got the ace on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being R in the Q posts. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to Westminster, I went to the Parliament, and I met Andrew Bridgen, who's the MP that's been standing up for people that have had problems with the product, etc. But he told me, he said this publicly on my show a few weeks ago, but he also told me in private, he said the only person that politically in England or America or anywhere, the only person that phoned him up to support him was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And interestingly enough, Andrew's part of the now, or he's promoting the new formed Reclaim Party in England, which is a new political party. But the badge is an R, and it's a white, a red, and a navy blue R, which is the American colours, but also the English colours. But he's wearing R, and so me and Andrew Bridgen did a happy birthday message to President Trump on the banks of the River Thames. River Thames is 138, Donald Trump 138, but he was wearing the badge R. So I was just wondering, is Andrew Bridgen connected to R on the Q post, or is it just indirectly through Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being R? Might be a stretch on that, but I just wondered, because it's like they have to tell you, they have to tell you. So it's like, well, he's wearing the badge, he's being contacted by R. Is he part of R? That's not looking like he is. There must be another reason for it. Okay. There must be another reason. The Three of Swords, so something from the past. And I think he's not entirely maybe part of what we call the white hats, but he's definitely been hurt by the system and wants out of the system and is fighting against the system, but not necessarily, but he's doing it all on his own accord. So he's not necessarily all, brought in on the things that are happening, but he literally is an intelligent enough person that he's actually part of the solution without even, like, he's organically part of the solution, if that makes sense. So he didn't get, He's not in closed meetings with the white hats or
Okay.
and or people that you would like, kind of like what your question was. I feel like he, unbeknownst to him, maybe he channeled what to do, but he's part of what's going on because he literally has been really hurt by what's
Yeah.
been going on. And he's absolutely just an intelligent person who's, this is, and a lot of it stems from a personal experience with losing someone, or a lot of people maybe, and
Yeah.
or a personal experience that he had that hurt him deeply, that put him on this path.
Interesting. That makes sense as well, because when we were out on the balcony, the veranda, we were just having a drink, and he was telling me, I was asking him a bit about kind of Q stuff, and he basically doesn't go along with it, and I didn't know if that was cover or not. So that kind of concurs with what you've said. So he's just independent, trying to do his best, I guess. Really, he's just trying to make do. This is another question. I don't know even how we can put names to it, but in America, it seems very clear in terms of the white hat leaders, i.e. Trump, and then you've got JFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's, maybe I should ask you this. Is Junior sometimes playing an RFK Jr.? Is his cousin JFK Jr. sometimes playing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as well as Senior? Because I just slipped when I answered it, and when I asked the question, and Trump said he referred to JFK Jr. being RFK Jr. A few days ago on that show.
Mm-hmm.
So is
right.
is sometimes Junior Robert is JFK Jr. sometimes playing RFK? Yeah, okay, he is.
So that's secretly, and that's truth and integrity. So
Okay.
what your statement is truth and integral, but they're doing it in secret. So it's not like meant to be known. So I would go with yes on that. And maybe even like the senior, like you said, because that's more of a senior card.
Okay. I do think Senior for sure with the numbers, and you got a massive yes on that. So going back to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. then, I didn't know this until recently, and I haven't researched it. Apparently his wife, or one of his wives, committed suicide a number of years ago. Are we seeing, so RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now, has he been swapped at any point? I mean, he's playing these other characters, but the original RFK Jr., was he always integral and part of the White Hats, or was he swapped early on? It's quite a heavy question, but let's ask it.
Well, we got the Page of Wands, which is a soft yes. So I don't get literally swapped. I get more taken aside, and because he was not in the know, and maybe even going down a path that could have led to bad things. Because he was going down a different, and then he might have got read in at some point and maybe made a decision. Let's see. Yeah, he got kind of turned at a crucial point where he could have went a different direction, like been part of what we were fighting against.
Okay.
He got switched. Not to say he was that involved in but he was maybe on the cusp of going down a path, because think about their family, the Kennedys, all kinds of
they're part of the 13 bloodline families, aren't
connections. They're part of the 13 group. Yeah, they're for sure. And like Kennedy wives, look at they a lot of them look where they were born males. Like there's no getting around it. These elite families do that, and even if they turn into good people, they could have started out because if they were born into families like that, weird stuff happens.
Yeah. So was his wife a sacrifice, or was she witness protection, or was that literally a sacrifice, i.e. an actual death? And was that part of his junction, the crossroads that he had to be 100%?
I'm getting that it's not meant to be known right now. So that's information the universe says, let's just keep that on, like, let's not look into that right now.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, it's like,
There's a lot.
right away when you asked it, I knew it was gonna, I just had a feeling. I don't think,
Yeah.
because then that might even be like, because that's an ongoing situation.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And I think this will be the final question. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is famous for being an anti-product person, and President Trump is, but he's had to say for optics and for Operation Warp Speed, because we, know Operation Warp Speed is not what it says on the tin or what the public perceive it to be. And they showed Star Trek again on TV last night, talking of warp speeds, which is Space Force, so it's something way higher.
Yeah.
But President Trump obviously knows that in this duel between him and Robert F. Kennedy, which has already started, Robert's already started to point out that President Trump made mistakes in lockdown and promoting things, etc. And when I hear him say that, I actually, because I defend President Trump, I don't like it, but I also understand that Robert F. Kennedy, the one we're seeing now, is of the light and is doing what is necessary. So I don't even know how to phrase this. President Trump was fully prepared that this would happen, because President Trump hasn't even criticized Robert. He's been quite defensive of him and protective, and says, yeah, he's got 21 points, he's ahead in the polls. So he seems to welcome him and be kind of protective of him. But Robert is pointing out the obvious to the masses, or the slightly awakened but don't like Trump group, that, oh, he promoted the product and he went along with lockdown measures and he's part of the problem, and he's a shit, like, there's a whole bunch that are waking, shouting their mouths off now, criticizing him. President Trump would have been aware of this, and it almost seems like he's welcoming this public discourse and opening for discussion and criticism with Robert. So I don't even know how to ask the question, but I feel President Trump knew this. He would have known this already. What's the outcome with that? What do we see? How does this go? How does this narrative go? Because I don't think we're going to see the last of that. I think that's going to be, it's almost like the sticky wicket that President Trump, the baddies, feel like he can get caught on this now, because all this information about what went on in lockdown is going to come to the fore. And even though President Trump wasn't 100% behind it, he was partly behind it, and he should have known better. And so therefore we're going to get him on that. So it seems like another orchestrated piece of the puzzle.
So way more and so many things are going to come out that completely change that. So the death card will put that to sleep once and for all. So there's a big piece of information that's not there, everybody's sitting on, and they're all in cahoots with it. So I feel like working together, because when that comes out, it'll change the narrative, and none of that'll be an issue. Like somehow none of that's going to be an issue. See that like there's a whole thing coming you don't even see coming. Most people don't even see coming. So they're busy looking at these little details, but there's something totally different here that's going to change all the narrative, and everybody will let that go because they got way bigger fish to fry. And there's not even you're gonna, that'll get dropped. It's just part of the theater right now.
Right. Interesting. Any idea what that bigger thing might be?
Well, I'm thinking it's the thing we got in the big look in the next few months, where money a financial world appears to collapse, but there's new systems comes up. But I think there's going to be a little time between those two, which is the ouchie time. And if you're not prepared personally, spiritually, and even physically, so in other words, have some things, maybe, don't put all your money in the really, really big banks. I mean, even though they're trying to tell you that was the safest thing, it's obviously not. If they're trying to tell you something in mainstream, it's probably do the opposite. That's just common sense at this point. And maybe have some physical asset, like if you have large amounts of money, you should already maybe purchase some properties maybe last year, and or gold and silver. I mean, that's just, I'm not a financial advisor, but that would be my interpretation of, and or do the things like you need a new roof, get a new roof. Should have probably already been thinking about that, because this stuff's right on our doorstep.
Okay.
Or a lot of people don't have big sums, and I don't think those people will be in as big a trouble. I think the more money you got just sitting around, the more, like if money devalues. But then I think there is something that will come along and repair some of that, but I know there's time in between, and there's going to be some ouch in between. And that part, you'll have to learn to be creative, trading, get good with your communities, find some farmers, farmer markets, encourage local spending and farmer markets and trading. And like, we're going to have to learn to be good humans again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's interesting you said about that card you just read. So you said it was change and it was death. It was a death card. So change is 38 in numbers and also death is 38 in numbers. So you kind of said it simultaneously as you showed the card. So that was powerful. And 78, when you spell it out, 78 is Kennedy, but you spell out 78, it's 159, the Chinese elders. Trump 88, spell out 88 is 123, which is silver plus gold. So maybe there will be something like that. Maybe, you know, we'll see the restoration of humanity with both of those two things. So Janine, it's been amazing to see you. Thanks for all the aces. I look forward to the future. And how can people find you? How can people find you?
And all the platforms, and anything you see on YouTube is a bootleg. So if you see me on YouTube, somebody took and manipulated the video probably, and they're old videos, a lot of them. Yeah. They're really old. So those aren't what I'm putting out, but TBJ.com and also Beyond Mystic. So I'm on the pay-per-view Beyond Mystics. You'll see me on Mondays and Wednesdays, and Rumble, the free Rumble. So Beyond Mystic Rumble, I'm on there at least 2 times a week, and in the big War Correspondence show, and that's a free show. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern on Thursdays. And also I do a quick poll. So I usually look at 2 different things and do quick poll, also catch you up to date on what's going on the Beyond Mystic stuff, because I'm affiliate of theirs too. Like, I work with those guys, so they're my partners. We're all equals and we're partners. But so that's what I'm doing these days.
Good, excellent. Yeah. And a reminder for everyone, subscribe to Site Club, my channel here. I'm on Twitter, Real Tom Numbers, and also my locals channel, which is local Real Tom Numbers. You can get on my email list there for free, my community, and you'll get some subscription videos as well. So thanks, Janine. I'll see you soon, and have a great week.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye.